Untreated alcoholic Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of Defense, said something that should be at the top of the news cycle. It should stay at the top of the news cycle. It is wildly disqualifying. But in the MAGA world, they are now saying the quiet part as loud as they possibly can. Pete Hegseth goes to a complete psycho, Christian nationalist, misogynist church that wants to dismantle democracy, that wants to do away with the 19th Amendment, which of course gives women the right to vote. Watch this incredibly disturbing interview with Pete Hegseth's best Christian friends on CNN.
Are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working journalist, and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Josh and Amy Prince, along with their 4 kids, moved here from Washington State.
Do you see Amy as your equal?
Yes and no, in the sense that we're both saved by grace. We're absolutely on equal footing, but we have very different purposes, God-given.
But do you see yourself as the head of the household, as the man?
He is the head of our household.
Yes.
Yes, and I do submit to him.
So like moving here
I was just
was
going to say that.
ultimately your decision.
Yes.
That's a great
example.
Wilson says in his vision of a Christian society, women as individuals shouldn't be able to vote. His fellow pastors, Jared Longshore and Toby Sumter, agree.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households. And I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would cast the vote having discussed it with my household.
But what if there's your wife doesn't want to vote for the same
Right.
person as you?
Right. Well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
And Wilson, a veteran himself, is unapologetic about his view that women shouldn't be in certain leadership or combat roles.
Looking at the leadership page for Christ Church, it's all men. Do you accept women in leadership roles in the church and government?
In the church, no.
Why?
Because the Bible says not to.
Wilson is part of a broader Christian nationalist movement making inroads with the Trump administration, with a newly created faith office led by evangelical pastor Paula White Cain, and people seen right outside the White House entrance praying and speaking in tongues.
We are standing on the soil of the White House, and we are declaring your word.
How precious!
And now there's a monthly prayer service at the Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the others.
Okay, and then here's what Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense for the United States of America, a country that's supposed to be secular, that is founded on the separation of church and state. Here's what he did with this news story. All of Christ for all of life. And he retweeted the interview in its entirety. We just showed you a highlight of it. It's actually 6 minutes and 45 seconds long. And he supports every bit of this. And there are women serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. There are women serving in the MAGA administration. And this is what I have to say. When you vote with the people that go after your group of people, eventually the knives are going to be turned and aimed directly at you.
None of this surprises me. Pete Hegseth has been through 3 wives. He's not faithful to any of them. He goes to strip bars. So the only place that he can go and not be laughed out because he is so unserious is this kind of evangelical church. Because, oh, you're forgiven. Oh, you're fine. The submitting to the husband, what strikes me about that the most is the woman says, yes, I submit to my husband. That is how I was raised. And it is dangerous. It does not protect women. It does not protect children. Pete Hegseth has gotten rid of all of the levers to protect women in the military from sexual assault and discrimination. And that is because Trump and this administration, women are interchangeable, they are replaceable, they are not valued. And I just find it so offensive that these people are allowed to act like they are better than everybody else. These big, fat, ugly white men think that they can stand a judgment of everybody else. And it's gross. The internalized misogyny of women is gross. This whole thing is sickening. And I do not understand why there is not an uprising of women against this. I know there'll be women of color against it, but it is the white women that are making this allowable in their hierarchy, in their society, in their patriarchal minds, and it's gross.
And this is something that you guys, where we live in the Bible Belt, this is something that has become mainstream before Trump. You have all of these private Christian schools where people go, and the agenda is anti-woman, anti-gay. Kids are trained to believe that the man is the leader of the household, and these white families pay extra to make sure their kids get that style of education. You may remember, what was his name? Mike Pence. I believe his wife worked at one of these schools, and they're popping up all over the country beyond the Bible Belt. And this is the agenda that people want their children to have. The problem is this, you guys. When you look at religious communities like this, whether it's Islam, Christianity, children and women are completely exploited and marginalized. So it sounds like real fun and games for low T Twitter to pop off on right now. Oh yeah, look at that. This is such a short-sighted, historically proven failure for people, for good societies. And then for those people who don't care, the economy is better when all people have access to it. Women spend more money in the economy than men do. And so for all of the Fortune 500 CEOs, what I have to say about this is, you know who you want to get advertisements to: women. Women are the shoppers. You might not be some right-wing Bible thumper, but if you're a big business voter, and I vote with my pocketbook, I vote with my wallet, you're aligning with these people. And if you don't morally think there's something wrong with this, or you don't care because you beat off to your stock portfolio all the time, you have to realize that this will plummet the economy. If you don't care about human beings and all you care about is money, this is a way to completely tank the economy. And you guys, it is so important that everybody stay focused, laser focused on what this administration is doing. And you get caught up in the right wing, you get caught up in the left wing. And that's why every single morning, Pumps and I log on to our trusted and shared partner, Ground News. Here's a prime example of news stories that you can get. Here's a left-leaning news story, and it tells us on Ground News, this has high factuality. And the headline is, Trump demands homeless leave DC ahead of street crime press conference. And then it has live updates. And then the right wing has, their headline is, Trump vows to evict homeless from Washington. Official says National Guard may be deployed. And so you can see how these news stories that are obviously trying to distract from the Epstein story, you can see how they're reported. You can see how your friends on the right are reading them. You can see how your friends on the left are reading them. So, listener, join us by going to groundnews.com/IHIP to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that we use every single day. They are subscriber funded, and our favorite part is they are female founded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work here at IHIP News. That's groundnews.com/IHIP. Kylie has pinned it below in the show notes. Pumps, while you were gone, Katie Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller, has she's entering the podcasting scene, and her first guest was none other than Smokey Eye sociopath JD Vance. Play the clip.
Questions. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about Marco?
He also has a sweet tooth. which, you know, he's in great shape. He works out, but he can, I mean, house ice cream to the point where half the time that I see Marco in the hallway, it's because he's just been down to the Navy mess in the White House and he's gotten a bunch of ice cream.
Marco Rubio is known as a funny jokester. What's the funniest joke he's told you? Or the funniest moment you've had with him?
Okay, so you guys will have to determine whether we can actually put this in the final.
We can cut it if not. We can cut it if not.
So we were talking about something very serious related to the Middle East, and he starts this joke totally deadpan. He's like, you know, I learned something interesting about the Middle East because I had a constituent call a few years ago when I was in the Senate, and a woman was visiting Israel and her husband died while they were in Israel. And I was like, oh man, that's terrible. And she was trying to get help from us for how to get the body back to the United States. And she said to me, you know, man, I don't know, maybe I don't want it back. The last time somebody the last time somebody died over here, they rose from the dead 3 days later. And I didn't know it.
As you can see, that's just fucking hilarious. So this is like, I don't know if this is them trying to be like normal, but I mean, talk about like no risk, both from Katie and JD Vance. And if JD Vance is the heir apparent of this cult that is the MAGA movement, and he's the easiest, like, the beta, provable beta with his own words. He had, I mean, really recently, a couple of years ago, he's America's Hitler, I'm a never Trump guy, blah, blah, blah. And then now he's just a total sycophant, which when you follow and you completely morally contort yourself to follow some, you know, Kankles McTaco tits, if you completely contort yourself to follow that guy, JD Vance is nothing short of a beta.
Oh, nothing. And I couldn't help but notice that the first thing he started talking about was how fit Marco Rubio was.
I did too.
You know, he can eat a lot of ice cream. I've watched him put it back. I'm like, were you fantasizing? So he has no riz. He can't tell a fucking joke to save his life. And you know, obviously, immediately I thought when he starts talking about his body and how fit and he works out, I was like, oh, that goes right into what I think about JD Vance. But Katie Miller, that is a psychological profile I would love to get to the bottom of.
Well, I mean, I think it's the same thing that you're talking about with a lot of women in general. They are they're piggybacking on what women before us did, the fight of the suffragettes and the fights of the women's movement to get to a place where we can have a podcast, where she can have a podcast. And then they align with the people, if we connect it to our first story, that want to get you back into the home where your only purpose is to breed. And I mean, I think that preacher, Pete Hegseth's preacher, was pretty crystal clear. That's where he wants women to be. And he's aligning with the MAGA movement. So, you know, this is all fun and games for all these MAGA women right now. But I mean, lo and behold, when it comes time to really get people on the chopping block, women are going to go.
100%.
All right. That's all we have. We made it to 1 million, and we'll have more news later today.